Hello people! Today we're going to do a set of polar bear nails that I have done recently. And I'm going to start off with a set of medium length oval tips that have been prepped. We're going to start off with Makartt. And all the color numbers and whatnot will be listed in the description. As you can see, I've obviously sped this up to double time because, who has time to sit and watch somebody slowly polish a set of nails? This video is going to be set to post on Christmas Day, so if I won't be talking to you guys before that, but I hope you all have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I'll be coming to you again in the new year. Also, I wanted to thank you guys for actually watching my little videos. It's been a whole learning experience for me, and hopefully I'm getting a little better at it. Okay, then on these nails, these are going to be half and half, basically, except for that one that I'm painting right there. I messed up on this. I should have painted the polar bear head shape in there with the white before I put the blue on there. So now you guys don't have to make that mistake, because I ended up having to do a bunch of crazy stuff later on to get the polar bear head to look right. And if I had just painted it on there first, I could have eliminated a lot of problems for myself. So that's going to be a case of I've made the mistake, so you don't have to. And the bottom and half of those I'm painting with white. I'm using Makartt for that. On this particular day, it was actually really cold here, which is a rarity for us. So all my polishes were super thick, which is why I'm brushing so much over them, because they do not want to spread out. As you can see, when it's coming out of there, I'm having a hard time even getting it out of the bottle. And you want to be careful too doing it like this, because that blue is still wet, that you don't want to get it on your white brush and then put it back in the bottle and contaminate your white polish. That would not be good. Okay, I'm going to give those a cure, and then like magic, we're back for the second coat. Oh, there's 2 coats on all of these except for some of the white ones, which you'll see later on, that I had to do some extra crazy stuff to get my polar bear head on there properly. And back to the blue. This blue is a Beetles, and like I said, the color number will be in the description. In hindsight, I'm thinking I should have gone with either a lighter blue or maybe even a gray. The Aurora borealis stuff shows up nicely, but then I had painted some little trees on the side in black, and you really can't see them. I mean, I left it in here so you could see what I did in case you want to do them, but they don't show up very well on the finished nails, unfortunately. But after I painted the first one on there, I felt like I needed to put the rest on. And the last one getting done, and they will get cured after this, full cure. And then we're ready to move on to painting the sky. This is a cat eye polish that I got off of AliExpress. I also did a lot of playing around with this before I got it to come out looking the way I wanted to. I started off trying to use the magnet and move it around the way I wanted, and it just wasn't working right. So I gave up on the magnet and just went with it as it was, because it still looks pretty cool. And then I have this stuff. This is actually a top coat. Also got it off of AliExpress. It's a really pretty glittery, blue-green glittery stuff in it. And then I have Beetles. This is one of their green glitter polishes that came in their mermaid set that they had out earlier this year. And those are the colors I'm going to use for the Aurora. Now this might get kind of sketchy in here because I had to do a lot of cuts because I started off doing it one way and then I didn't like it and I wiped it off and started over. That happened a couple of times before I settled in with what I was going to do. But I've got a flat edge brush. It's kind of cut at an angle, but the flat edge is the most important part, I think. And I'm just going to put some kind of wavy lines of the colors on there. And then I took the other side of the brush that was sort of kind of dry and I was just kind of feathering it up a little bit so it made it like a wider stripe, but I still wanted that hard edge of the color at the bottom edge of it. And of course you can't see it now because it's on the camera. I think at this point I decided, at this point I decided I can do them while they're on the rack. So you can see that middle one that's already done. That's the one that I did all the experimenting with. So I saved you guys from having to watch all of that because that was a long process trying to figure out what I liked. But I'm going to go in on this one, do the same thing with the cat eye. I've got these zoomed in a lot farther than I was doing before, so now I got to get used to keeping it in frame when it's that much of a close-up, which is why I'm having so many issues again. And once I get that on there to my liking, then I will move on. Now I've got a detailer brush, which I'm using for the green glittery polish, and I'm just going to make some little kind of wavy lines going through here and there. I slimmed down the process of doing this. I did not do the rest of these the way I did that first one because that was just too much involved for the way it came out, and I could get the same effect this way. So I got my swirly little lines on there mostly. And FYI, that has not been cured. None of that's been cured yet. None of these the cat eye or that green or this stuff I'm going to put on now, none of this is cured yet. I'm going to cure it all at the same time. I picked up a little bit of the glitter out of that top coat pot of stuff. It basically is a top coat, but it's really thick. I just kind of wanted the glitters out of there. And I'm just going to place some of that on here and there. You can just kind of play around with it, see what you like the look of. See, you can see it's kind of like, it's almost like not a paste, but it's thicker than gel, but not super thick. It does spread out nicely if you're painting it on a whole nail as a top coat, which you'll see later when I put that on those two light blue nails. I think no, I'm not. I was going to say, I think I'm happy with that, but apparently not. When I am happy with it, I'm going to cure that. Okay, there it goes. And now we're going to move on to that same top coat. And since I already had this brush with the product on it, I just used this brush, but this is really not the brush you want to be using to put gel polish, top coat or otherwise, onto a nail. See how the color of it totally changes on this light blue surface? Some of those little flakies turn into kind of pinky purpley color. They won't look like that as much when we're done, but I guess it's just the way that light's shining on them. But that is going in. We'll go into cure. I don't think I showed any more, but the pinkies and the thumbs were painted with this. And when it cures, it does not have a tacky layer, so it like really is a top coat. And there it is, all done. And the rest of those I will take care of off camera, which it looks like I did because the pinky's done, and that's where we are so far. Okay, now we're going to move on to, let's see, what am I doing here? Okay, this is where I started to go to paint the polar bear heads. Now see the problem? You can see it already. The polish is not thick enough to cover over that blue undercoat of the darker blue. And I tried doing it firstly with gel paint, but the white gel paint was not the same color as the white polish, which was going to be the rest of his face. So I had to scrap that idea. But if I had painted the white part on there in the shape of the bear head at the beginning instead of now, then I could eliminate all of this stuff right here. But this is how we learn. This is how I learned to do all this stuff, through trial and error. I just never had anybody watching me do it before. Plus, I'm not recording the voiceover live with it, so you don't get to hear me with all the cursing and the temper tantrum throwing that goes on when I'm doing stuff and it's not going well. Okay, now I have finally gotten that smoothed out. There was a bunch of craziness that happened with that, but anyway, I'm going to put one final coat of this polish on it. This is the first one, not the one you just saw me painting the first coat on, but just pretend this is the second coat, because it will need 2 coats. Although had I done it right the first time, this whole process right here would be eliminated, like I said. Once I get that on there and I'm happy with it, I will give that a full cure. Now I did jump back and forth since I was doing a full set, and there was going to be, two racks of 5. So sometimes I'm jumping back and forth doing one, like say this polar bear now, then I might jump to the other one. So you might see me working on another part of it before we move on. Okay, now I believe I'm ready to paint the ears on here. Okay, now that white is gel paint, and it was super thick too that day because it was so cold. So everything, it's really thick, and it was a little harder to work with than it normally is. But we're just going to paint his little ears on there. I think ideally his ears might have been, should have been a little bit off the side of his head a little more, but well, I ran out of real estate, so this is what we've got. Also on my palette I've got black gel paint, and eventually I'm going to add some red gel paint because I'm going to need to mix up pink. And now you can't even see it because it's off camera. But we're just doing the other ear. See, this is another thing where if I had painted those white with the polish, the ear parts on there too, we wouldn't have had to do this part either. I just would have had to paint the inner part on there. Okay, when I'm happy with that, I will give it a cure. Sorry about that. I think I flash cured it. Or did I? Well, I'm not sure now. I either flash cured it or gave it a full cure. I'm not sure. I probably full cured it because I was going to have to put the pink in and I didn't want to worry about it. I don't know. You could do either one. It's up to you. Eventually, when I'm done fooling around here, I'm going to cure that. And now we're done curing, and now I'm moving on to the face. This one, the face on these guys I have wiped off. I put on and wiped off and put on and wiped off a couple of times, so that's why there's already, the eyes are already on there, because this is about the 3rd attempt at this. And the nose going on. I will just get the general size of the nose blob on there, and then I'm going to take a detailer brush and go in, and you may or may not be able to see it, but I'm going to round out the nose a little bit better on the top and shape it how I want it. And once I'm happy with that, Actually, it wouldn't have been a bad plan to flash it right there, but I did not. But I'm going to go in, we're going to paint the mouth lines on. It's just going to be like a backwards J with the little curvy up part. I want to make it a little longer. I think I'm finally starting to get over my fear of doing hand painting. Just a little bit though. Gaining a little bit of confidence in it. Not a lot, but some. That you can't totally see, but I'm going to finish the other half of his mouth. And there he is. As soon as I'm done with that, and then we're going to give that a flash cure, I think. And there he goes, in there to cure, I think. Okay, now as you see, I've added the red to my palette, and I'm going to just put a tiny little bit of the red in with the white until, keep mixing these up until I get a light shade of pink that I'm happy with. And at that point I may as well mix it in with the entire blob of white, but there we go. And I will switch to the detailer brush, and then we're just going to fill in the little ears in the middle of the ears. See, this should have gone, and I've sped this part up because, like I said before, the paint was super thick and it was just taking me a lot longer than it really should have. And you get the idea what we're doing. I don't think you need to see it in slow speed like my normal painting. Once I get that in here, he's definitely getting a full cure. Okay, he's all done. And then we're going to move on to the Igloo on the ring fingernail. And I'm just going to make like a half circle shape. Hopefully it'll be in the camera shot. That's going to be the main part of the Igloo. And then I'm going to make a second half circle off to the right side of that one, but connected to it, like overlapping a little, which now you can't see. Oh, no, not. It's still on the first one. Okay, I've made a line underneath it, but you can't really see it very well. Well, I thought I did. Now I did. My brain is so frazzled. All this holiday hustle and bustle and getting stuff together. I'm going to stay with my parents next week for the week, so I got all this stuff I got to get done before I leave to go out there since I won't be here. Okay, now I think we're going to go with the second half circle, which is going to be the little lower part that's going to be for the door area. It's going to be smaller than that one, but it's going to like cut through into part of that one. You'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about. It'll make sense. See, it's about half the height as that other one. And it's going to overlap. And then it will get a line across the bottom. And once that's on, then I'm just going to fill the whole thing in. Once I get this all filled in, I'm going to give it a full cure, because then we're going to paint on top of there. Excuse me. Get a frog in my throat here. Okay, now I have mixed up some light gray with the black and the white. And now I'm just going to go along here and do a thin line to outline it. I'm going to outline the little circle first because that's going to be the doorway. And then I'll go around and outline the rest of the outer edge, which you may or may not be able to see. And now we're going to go along the bottom. Honestly, sorry if you heard any of that. My husband had to come back through here for something. Okay, I think I'm finally starting to get better at making fine lines too. Now you can't hardly see, but I've painted some vertical, like curvy lines on there. And now I'm doing the horizontal ones, and you want to give them a curve so it looks kind of roundy. Now in hindsight, as I was looking at this later on, I realized I should not have painted those lines exactly like that. This is just a little extra line to give make an edge like to the doorway part. But seeing as how those bricks would not be all lined up perfectly straight, I should have not painted these vertical lines like that. I should have put those in last because you don't want all your brick seams lined up because then it's not stable. Is what I'm trying to say, even though probably I'm the only one that's going to notice that. Okay, there's a little better view of what we did on there. Again, the doorway line. And then I'll just paint some little tiny lines around the doorway part for the brick lines. Or should I say ice blocks, seeing as how it's an igloo. Now I had tried painting in the inside of the doorway with a gray, and I did not like the way it looked, so I ended up wiping that off. And now that's all been cured, and now we're moving on to the little trees that you can't see anyway, but I'm doing it because it was part of my plan, and I'm stubborn like that. But I just have made the trunk line go up there with the detailer brush, and now I'm just going through and making little swoopy lines for the pine branches. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get the gist of what I'm doing. I think they would have been really cute had I made my sky lighter. I'm thinking I probably should have done maybe just one coat of that darker blue, then it wouldn't have been quite as dark. Or I could have changed it to a lighter blue. That would have been maybe a better plan too, because then it would have tied in with the other blue nails. See, I think of all these things after I've done the job, and then it's like, well, I'm not redoing it, so it is what it is. Okay, that's been done and cured. Now we're moving on to the thumb and the pinky, which I think I only show the thumb, but I'm going to put those kind of dot style snowflakes that everybody's doing this year on here. Now this white is the white polish. I did not use gel paint for this because it being as thick as it was, I knew it wasn't going to be able to drag through very easily. So we're just putting on a dotted square kind of a situation with a dot in the middle. And I have my detailer brush, and I'm just going to start in the middle and drag out through all of those dots to get the snowflake arms or spokes or whatever you want to call them. And we'll go all the way around. This might be the second one I did. I know I did one of these and I wasn't happy with it, so I wiped it off and started again. So this may be the second of that, or this might be the other second thumb, I don't know. I lost track. Okay, now the main lines of that are done. And I don't know what I'm doing right here. Oh, I know, I was looking looking at the other one to see what I did on the first one. This is the second one. Okay, then I'm putting dots on the not the north, south, east, west spokes, but the other ones. They're going off at the odd corners. Just along the line of that. And where did I go? I think I'm putting that into cure at that point. And then I'm going to do another smaller one down here on the bottom. I'm just starting that one, which you can't see, with one dot, and I'm just going to drag out the 4 like compass point arms. This is going to be a smaller one. It's not going to have as much stuff. You could leave it like that and have a little star, but we're doing snowflakes again, so. And now what I'm going to do on these is at close to the end of each of those arms, I'm going to paint like a little V shape. At some point, hopefully, it'll be in the shot so you can see what I'm doing. There you can kind of sort of see. Well, for a second. Ay, ay, ay. See, I know where I'm in shot when I had it at the old magnification, but since I made it closer in, now everything is just slightly out. There we go. See what I did? It's like a little V at the end of each of the spokes. And then I'm going to put a dot in the middle of the V part. And is that going to be it? Oh no, now I think I dragged out just a littler line, a shorter line in the corner directions now. Yeah, if you start to get too much paint built up on your brush, you want to wipe it off. Otherwise, your lines start to get thicker and blobbier. And nobody likes a blobby line. You know, I'm sorry, so much of this is out of shot. And then on the tip of those little ones we just did, we're going to put another little dot. Now, if you really wanted to, what you could do was, while these were still wet, you could sugar them, or you could put embossing and stuff on them. Well, I guess I am going to show the little pinky now. But anyway, after that thumb was done, it went in to be cured. And I'm going to do just one on the pinky. I went back into at some point in here, and I just decided to add some random snow dots to the pinky and the thumbnail. You know, when I'm doing my square dots this time to make the square center thing, I'm putting them in closer to the middle. So they're going to be shorter. And I'm just going to start at the middle and drag through all of those again. I'm going to start with the 4 compass points, and then I'll go back and do those littler, shorter ones. I gotta say, these kind of snowflakes are so much easier than trying to paint, you know, full-on ones with all these different things on them, which I tried last year and failed at miserably. Okay, I think that's all I did to that. Oh yeah, and then this is where I'm putting started to decide, oh, it needs a few random snow dots here and there. So I went back and put them on the others. And there we are. That's where we are now. And at this point, I'm ready for top coating, which I will do at double speed, if you all know how to top coat. This is a tempered top coat, And quite frankly, I don't understand what the difference is between this one and a no wipe top coat, because this has no tacular either. If anybody knows what the difference is, let me know in the comments. But this tempered top coat I've been trying out from Venalisa, and I really like how it comes out. It has a really nice hard finish to it. It's nice and smooth. This was the next day. I'm working on this now, that's why I don't have gloves on again. I figured I could manage to get the top coat on there and do the snowy part without getting any gel on myself, so I think I managed it this time. Yay! Okay, now I'm going in here with another layer of the top coat. I don't want to cover up the tree trunk. And I'm going to be using for the snow a mixture of white acrylic powder and embossing powder. The same one that I've been using for a lot of stuff recently from Michaels. I tried it with just the embossing powder. It did not work. You need the bulk of the acrylic on there to help make your snow thick enough to be able to get the little feet prints in there. And you kind of just want to do it the same way if you were embossing. You want to just keep putting it on there till you get a nice thick heavy coat and you're not seeing it turn like wet looking anymore. And after a couple of attempts at this, I settled on using the silicone tool to make the feet prints. And frankly, I know the scale of the feet prints is way off. And they also look like cat feet rather than bear feet, but that was the best that I could accomplish at that point. I had put this on and taken it off and put it on, taken it off a few times before I got something I was happy with. But you're just going to make the little indents in there into your snow. And the reason I added the embossing powder into the acrylic is because I wanted the snowy stuff to have a little tiny bit of a sparkle to it. You make the foot pad part, the bigger part, and then you just put your little toes on there. If they were bare toes, they would have like a kind of a longer drag at the top end of where the nail would be, which didn't happen for me because I can see, well, those actually look a little bit longer than the one on the bottom, which totally looks like a cat footprint. But you just make your little indents on there with whatever tool you're using. I tried a dotting tool, but it wasn't working as good for me, so I switched to the silicone one. I suppose you could use a toothpick. That probably would work. But I'm going to keep making sure I've got it cleared out as much as I want, and it was looking a little wet down there, so I decided to add some more of the snowy mixture. And then my feet prints got a little bit full again, so I went back and gave them another poke with the silicone tool. When I'm eventually going to be happy with this, I'm going to give it a double cure. Make sure it gets cured all the way through because it's rather thick. And then when it comes out after being cured, along the edges of where you've made the footprints, the snowy stuff is going to be sticking up a little bit. It's going to be kind of rough, so then I just took a file and gave it a real gentle file across the top of those to get all those little edges off of there so it wouldn't get caught on stuff. Eventually I'm going to get this in the lamp. And then, like I said, double cure. And when it comes out, well, it's not out yet, but once it's cured and it comes out of there, I'm going to give it a quick brush off with my clean off brush. Maybe. Yeah, here we go. Just to get all the loose stuff off of there, the loose powder. There was a little bit of it that stuck at the top of there, which I ended up filing off and then re-top coating that top portion. But there we are with the finished set. That's what we have got. If you like this set, please give them a like, and if you want to see more, please feel free to subscribe. I really appreciate everybody watching my videos. And as I said, well, there's the finished set in the photo. Thank you very much. See you next time.